Diablo 4 is an absolute mess with the announcement of Season 2. But now we got some more real info about Season 2, a deeper dive. So maybe this fixes something.
Yesterday at Gamescom, they announced Diablo 4 Season 2, and that season is going to be Season of the Blood. It's effectively a vampire hunter. You track down and kill these different vampires, and you have like a companion that looks like some kind of vampire.
Yes, you're essentially Blade.
Slayer. However, the real juicy stuff actually wasn't that cinematic and them just announcing and naming it and talking to the actress, etc. It was actually posted, which you can find here, originally posted on Twitter, saying 5 new and returning in-game bosses. Updates to the Renown rewards, updates to gym and stash storage, updates to resistance and status.
We covered this. This is not good news. They're selling bug fixes. Features that should have been on day 1 in the game as core seasonal mechanics. That's not good. That's not good, Skittles. You should tell them to feel shame for their actions.
Effects, and then if you go here, they actually have more details of these. Now, the things that we need in the game currently going into Season 2, we need some quality of life. More than anything, we need things to actually do. We're looking for in-game content. At the moment, the in-game content is do a nightmare dungeon until you're blue in the face from doing nightmare dungeons. So what we're looking for is repeatable, new in-game content. And I'm talking level 100 plus or level 80 to 100. That type of structured content that's not just nightmare dungeons over and over and over again. Now, if you go in and you look at these sort of patch notes going in the future announcement, you'll see that Season of the Blood begins on October 17th, basically directly after the ending of Season 1. And then they kind of break down for you. There's a new quest line, vampiric powers to wield, and 5 additional in-game bosses. Now, if you look...
5 additional in-game bosses, 1 returning, which means the hearts aren't going anywhere, which is good if you're a Necro player, because you have the only interesting a malignant heart in the game. Everything else is garbage and you know it, and if you don't know it, well, I have to say that's sad. And, well, chances are 1 new unique boss, the end vampire boss, and then it's just gonna be reused assets. It's gonna be great.
Here, this is a little posting which will say new and returning foes for additional in-game challenges. So these say in-game challenges. I'm hoping that means it's not just new dungeon bosses at the end, but actual new big bosses that will have some kind of structure into giving rewards that actually matter and reasons to actually do them. That is what we're looking for with this. We don't just want 5 bosses on the map that there's no reason to kill.
How many? We have 5 locations, 5 different map locations, right? So, doing a nightmare dungeon in every different location, like Fractured Peaks, the swamp, maybe you do the dungeons there, and they drop you a map fragment, right? And when you do enough dungeons in the location, you get those fragments, and then you can fight the location's big bad boss. That is a potential thing that could happen, because we are talking about 5 bosses, right? We have 5 locations, 5 distinct map locations: Dry Steppes, Swamp, Fractured Peaks, the other place, and the place with the drowned guys.
And we ignore, for instance, like, how the Hellfire area has got the roaming boss, the, Kha'Zix basically, that runs around, you can kill him. Not really a reason to purposefully go hunt him down. Forgotten Souls you can farm elsewhere. So we're looking for bosses that are on the map.
That boss is not
that there's a reason to actually do. So that's what we're hoping to see with the 5 in-games. Now, look at this. Better target farming of unique and uber uniques. Now, uber uniques at the moment basically don't exist in the game. You literally, this is a literal mathematic probability, have a better chance of winning your local lottery or Powerball than you do actually receiving an uber unique. So at the moment, there's...
But does the government take 40% of that uber unique when you get it? No, they don't. No, they don't.
They're basically not in the game. For most of the people that spent the money on the game, you basically can't get them. So when they actually say something like better target farming of uniques and uber uniques, the target farming of normal uniques, that's pretty good because people still can't get things like Tempest Roar, etc. if you're trying to get specific uniques. But uber uniques is the one that makes me curious, because if this is actually farmable by not really the average guy, but somebody who's trying, like in Root.
I like the idea that it's farmable like one uber unique, maybe in like 100 hours of gameplay. I think that's fair, because the uber uniques are so overpowered, they are literally the, bis and slot no matter what the situation is for everyone and anyone. So uber uniques are like a double-edged sword, because you're never replacing them, and if you get lucky and find the uber unique fast in your gameplay, well, you're never looking at an upgrade. So that has downsides.
Old school RuneScape, you can target farm pets if you go and just kill that boss a whole bunch. Yes, it's 1 in 5,000 drop rate and things like Zora Pet, but at least there's lots of people that have it. It is doable. You just got to go get your grind on. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a pinnacle reward from a pinnacle boss. Now, as we move forward here, you're going to notice Renown rewards. So rewards will carry over when completed on any prior character beyond Altars of Lilith and map discovery. This is a huge addition because I've said this before, and I flip-flopped a little bit on this one because originally I thought, oh, it's not such a big deal. But then when I actually got into seasons, I realized it is actually a big deal. And people don't want to do the renowns, especially since if you do it on hardcore, you don't get the rewards on softcore, which to me doesn't make sense. Hardcore is literally the harder difficulty. But what they're actually doing here is they're making it where your rewards will carry over into the future seasons. In fact, they even say that includes potion charges, skill cap, oboe cap.
Well, they included this thing because everyone in school knows that the PowerPoint presentation of its slides, then your slide has only 2 points, looks bad, but Blizzard was so incompetent they couldn't even get to that magic number of 3 minimum points per slide. So they didn't want to get one, they didn't only want to have one slide. That's what happened. So they increased the font size.
Cap upgrades,
horrible
Paragon points. So all of them, effectively all of them, we no longer have to worry about refarming the Renown. This is a giant W because this is something that is, in fact, making people quit the game. I know some of you might not mind doing it, but the reality is some people actually do mind doing it, and this is something people have been very vocal.
Dude, a lot of people mind doing it. Getting all the Lilith altars from 0 literally takes 2 hours or something like that. Well, an hour and a half max, I think, probably. I'm not sure, but it takes a very, very long time. No, it probably does take 2 hours. Yeah.
About that they want this change, so it looks like we're actually getting that change. Now, if we scroll down here, more efficient inventory management for gyms. Okay, they mentioned the Paragon points, skill points, potions capacity will carry over into new seasons once you've done the internal or previous seasonal realm. So if you've done it, you're done. We no longer have to refarm this. They are giving up the battle of pushing back on this one or anything. It's just fine. That's what you guys want. That's what you guys get. Now, they're changing to the functionality of status effects such as vulnerable, overpower, critical strike damage, and also elemental resistances. The big caveat here is elemental resistances are not good. We know that. They mentioned it'd be fixed by season 2. They're doubling down.
I mean, I don't know if everyone's saying they're not good, but I played the game. If you have 2 pieces of gear that say plus 40 to X elemental resistance and you have, plus 80, in my experience, you no longer almost take damage from that shit. Maybe it's at level 100 you take damage from it again. I'm not sure, but in my experience, you just need like 70 to 80 of that resistance and you can almost ignore any elemental mechanic.
Down to basically saying resistances will actually be a thing in season 2. The interesting one here is vulnerable critical strike damage. They've already nerfed it.
Good.
It's still the best. We know it's still the best because when they went to buff uniques, they actually made those stats onto the uniques, and they also put cooldown reduction, another one that they buffed on some of the uniques because they know it's the best, we know it's the best, and it's the way to make an item actually good. It's still put those stats on there. But they talked about in one of the campfire chats that overpower, like these other type of skills and these other types of ways of doing damage, they want to actually be a thing. So it's good to see overpower on here because
that is so good. Again, I don't want Diablo 4 to just be a game about, oh, I'm gonna make a build. What stats do I need? Well, critical strike chance, critical strike damage, and vulnerable. That's it. And that's literally the only thing any character cares about. I don't want that. I want it to be like Path of Exile. You can have dot damages, you can have, overtime different type of overtime damages, elemental damages, physical damages, on hit damages, spell damages. You can have all of that. I want that, okay? Blizzard, And that's better than only just having 3 stats that matter.
Changing to the functionality is effectively they're going to try to buff these ones, and I'm assuming further reduce the overall structure of just building vulnerable and critical.
The moment they buff overpower, by the way, blood necros are just gonna insta one-shot everything. Yeah, it's definitely happening.
Strike damage. Now, while nerfs do not feel good, I myself roasted the patch when they nerfed all of our damage, and it just felt bad to play. People don't like to be factually weaker than they are. It is a W, in my opinion, to try to have a balance around different skill types of damage. So instead of us all just always having to stack vulnerable critical strike damage, and if you don't have vulnerability...
Good. He now understands. I even commented on the video. We watched the video he did. I even commented on that, explaining that that's what Blizzard's goal is. To make it so that we have actually more ways of building characters than just, you know, concentrating on these 3 stats. Good.
In your build, guess what? You're just never going to do as much damage as someone who does have it in their build. It would be nice to see things like Overpower actually be competitive in terms of the top tier types of damage. So I think that that is something that probably needs to happen. It might not feel good when it does happen, but rebalancing the structure of how the damage numbers actually work with these types of damage types, I think is overall going to be better in terms of feeling good with builds. Now, as we continue, updated elemental resistances. They say this is just a visual indicator of what they're talking about, which we saw up here. So there's not really a whole lot to be talked about, except this one thing right here. Stash can now be searched and filtered. So as you've probably seen in some of my videos, I've been playing Path of Exile lately, and I didn't realize how much I would use the search until I actually started playing that game. Being able to type in what you're looking for and have a highlight and filter through is something that's actually I use like all of the time in Path of Exile. It's going to be hard for me to go back to Diablo 4 without that feature. So because of that, I now know how nice this actually is. I have got real world experience in using it. That will be useful. Now, you can scroll down and see the Season of Blood announcement. I actually have a video. It's to be the prior upload on this channel. If you want to go watch my reaction to that, you are welcome to see that. But that is what they are announcing so far. Now, what we really need to know is more of this 5 in-game bosses. Because let's be honest, a lot of these are fixes to problems they created or are things that just the community really doesn't like Renown refarming. Yes, it's a W that's changed. It's not really new content. It's just things that are annoying that are no longer as annoying.
But Blizzard's selling it as new content. It's so beautiful.
And then things like stash filters, etc., are quality of life. There's 2 things I like here. 1, they're adding in-game content, which are the bosses. And 2, they seem to be, we can argue all day about whether or not they're doing it fast enough or whether or not D4 bad and all the memes. However, they do seem to be addressing literal things. People like me come up in videos and say, I have said we need stash searched and filtered in videos, okay? I have complained about gem storage. We all have complained about elemental resistances. And I have also complained, as well as other people, that things like overpower should be better. So that is good. We've also all complained that we don't like the fact that there's no in-game content.
Overpower is already busted because necromancers can get 1,000... They can easily get 1,000+% overpower multiplier with the blood golem. So yeah, I'm not sure if you make overpower legit, Necro's gonna literally do Uber Lilith in 0.1 seconds with the overpower proc.
So they're adding in-game bosses. Completely depends upon how they're implementing this, but I like to see anything that is related to in-game because that is where the game is suffering. We need more in-game. I think we all can agree. Once you receive the in-game, it can be a little boring. So having more in-game, that's what I like to see out of this.
True.
And then this right here could be the secret behind these in-game bosses. Because if you look, better target farming of uniques and uber uniques, they have this in the same section of in-game bosses. So if I had to guess what this basically means is you go, you get an in-game boss, you fight it with however you access the boss, and then these bosses are what gives you the ability to target farm or try to get uber uniques, etc. Maybe one of each of the different bosses has a drop table of like 2 or 3 of the uber uniques, so you can target farm which one you're looking for, and you just spam those all day long if you're trying to farm that type of stuff. That could be a W because it gives us something to do in the in-game. Either way, anything for us to do in the in-game other than running like Nightmare Dungeons is going to be a good addition to the game. Obviously, depending upon how they implement it. But this actually makes it look a little better than just that cutscene where where they show a vampire hunter and they talk about it for 10 seconds. When you actually look into the meat and bones of it a little bit and you start digging through this, all of these changes are pretty good. You're welcome to debate amongst yourselves whether or not you think this is enough for Season 2 or anything like this. But in terms of actual updates to the game, factually...
I mean, they updated it, but I will say this again because people misunderstand it. When you're negative about this game or any game in general, there's going to be people who are going to say, oh, why are you always negative about it? But the truth is, you need to be negative about these things. When Blizzard tries to sell you a literal bug fixes as big seasonal ticket things and updates, they're fucking up. That should have been fixed like day 2, worst case scenario. And we should have gotten new things instead of all of that. We haven't even heard about new uniques and, aspects being added, which is crazy if that's not going to be the case, right? So, whenever Blizzard does something like this, that is literally cheap shit, and you say, oh, Blizzard, you did good, Blizzard's going to be like, oh, we did good, oh, we can relax now, all is forgiven, and they're going to give you a worst experience next time. If you do not hold these companies always accountable that they should do better, you're gonna get shit products. That's just the reality of it. You're gonna get a bad experience, and everything's gonna be bad. You can't praise a company for doing good in these situations, because the moment you praise a company that has historically done bad for literal tens of years now, it's gonna do bad again the first moment you let it do bad. So this is why you can never praise something like CDPR doing good or Blizzard doing good, because if they feel that you're no longer have your hand on their throat, they're gonna just revert to their bad ways of doing stuff. It is what it is.
I like all of the stuff on this list. It'll be coming in Season 2. Maybe it will entertain us for a few months, maybe it won't, but at a minimum, these are upgrades. They're upgrades, and they're things we basically have been directly asking for in the game. So I like that. That one is a W. But we'll see how it actually implements, and we will restructure our opinion depending upon
no. Dude, how is our boy the most reasonable person out there? He doesn't just, Aspergold said for these things, it's amazing, the best thing ever I have seen. Well, it's like purely shilling for Blizzard, right? He's like, okay, this isn't the right direction, but don't fuck this up. There's
implementation of the things they say they're going to be adding in October 17th when it actually comes out. That's about it. I will be live now.
Yep, we know our boy. Oh, he's actually now put this in? Well, whatever. Anyway, that was our boy, and this was Quizzer Said. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.